You wake up. Your back hurts. Your head feels weird and... Wait a second. Why do your hands look like gloves that lost a fight with a rock? Congratulations! You're a Hilichurl. You don't know how, you don't know why, but deep down something tells you you weren't always like this. Yeah, being a Hilichurl isn't just about getting whacked by random travelers every 5 minutes. The truth is, you weren't always like this. But how did it happen? Let's go back, way back to when you were still human. A long, long time ago, you weren't a Hilichurl. You were human, a proud citizen of Kainri-A, living your best life in a nation with no gods, only science, ambition, and a general disregard for divine authority. And then, Celestia happened. The gods took one look at your civilization and said, yeah, no. The cataclysm hit, and your homeland was turned into ruins overnight. But that wasn't the worst part, oh no. The worst part was that you and your fellow citizens were hit with a curse, a punishment so brutal that instead of just, dying, you were transformed into mindless monsters. And thus, the first Hilichurls were born. That's right, you didn't choose this life. It was forced upon you by some higher beings who really don't like competition. And to make things worse, this curse is forever. You don't age normally, you don't pass away peacefully, you just keep existing, losing more and more of your mind until one day you forget who you even were. At that point, you're basically running on instinct, like a particularly unlucky pigeon, except even pigeons get to live in cities instead of getting smacked around by adventurers every other day. It's not a heroic existence, that's for sure. In fact, being born as a Hilichurl is as close to a nightmare as you can get. You're stuck in a never-ending loop of misery with no way out, and just in case you thought things might get better, spoiler alert, they won't. Let's explore why being a Hilichurl is the worst thing that could ever happen to you. When you're born, the world should be filled with promise. You should be able to dream about becoming something great, but nope, you, dear Hilichurl, are a walking contradiction. Your life's purpose? To stand around and do nothing, and if you're lucky, you get to hold a torch. Wow. Life as a Hilichurl is a daily grind of scraping by with the bare minimum. Imagine living in a rickety wooden hut, barely held together by straw and hope. You sleep on a mat of dried grass, your bed nothing more than a patch of dirt. Your meals are whatever you can scavenge, maybe a few sansetias or a slime condensate if you're lucky. No proper tools, no medicine, no warmth beyond a sputtering campfire. While humans feast in cozy taverns and trade in bustling markets, you're out here roasting apples over an open flame. Some Hilichurls are assigned to guard a camp, which sounds important, right? Nope, it's just a fancy way of saying you're the first one to die when adventurers show up, because trust me, they will show up. Imagine this, you're standing there, minding your own business, maybe poking at some berries you found on the ground. It's a peaceful day. Birds are chirping, the sun is shining. Oh look, a traveler is approaching, maybe they'll walk past you, respect your space, maybe they'll... Nope, before you even register what's happening, boom, a fireball to the face. You don't even get a chance to scream. 1 second you're contemplating life's mysteries, the next you're a smoldering pile of ashes. But hey, no big deal, you'll just wake up again, respawn somewhere else, and the cycle continues. And that's when it hits you. You're just an XP piñata. That's it. The heroes of Teyvat, the legendary traveler, the knights, the mercenaries, the overleveled psychopaths looking for easy loot, they all see you the same way. Not as a person, not as a creature with thoughts and feelings, but as a convenient target. You don't get to be the protagonist. You don't get to be strong. You're just there to make their journey a little more exciting. You might try to fight back. You might even land a hit if you're really lucky, but what does it matter? A well-placed arrow, a single slash from a glowing sword, and you're done. You're nothing more than a footnote in someone else's adventure. And the worst part? They don't even loot you properly. Seriously, you drop some mora, maybe a mask. If you're lucky, a sliver of a dull artifact no one actually wants. You die and all they get is pocket change. You didn't even matter enough to drop good loot. But wait, maybe evolution is the answer. Maybe growth will change your fate. At first you're just a basic Hilichurl, weak, clumsy, barely a threat, but then evolution. You become a Hilichurl fighter. Wow, look at you. You've got a club now. That's gotta mean something, right? Wrong. You're still cannon fodder. You just die slightly slower. But wait, You're not giving up. You push forward, survive longer, and evolve again. Now you're a Hilichurl. You're bigger, tougher, you've got armor, you even get to throw rocks. Surely this is the turning point. Nope. You're still just an obstacle. A slightly more annoying one, but an obstacle nonetheless. The heroes love fighting you now because you're big enough to make them feel accomplished when they take you down. You're still nothing more than a challenge to pad out their journey. No matter how much you evolve, how much you try, you'll never be on equal footing with them. You'll never be the hero. You're just enough of a nuisance to exist, until they decide you shouldn't. And if that wasn't bad enough, you get desperate. You think there's gotta be more to life than this. And then you hear whispers of a place that accepts your kind. A group that doesn't just use Hilichurls as cannon fodder, but sees them as allies. The Abyss Order. You think, maybe this is it. Maybe I'll finally have a purpose, a real role in something bigger. You join up, and for a moment you feel like you matter. You're given orders, sent on missions, important ones. You're part of an army. And then you hear it. Hilichurls, charge at the Traveler. Wait, the Traveler? The same one who took down a god? The one who cuts through enemies like they're made of paper? The one who just wiped out 5 of your strongest warriors in 10 seconds? You barely have time to process your inevitable death before you're thrown into the battlefield and, of course, you die. Again. And when you fail, the Abyss Order doesn't care. No funeral, no mourning, they just move on to the next batch of Hilichurls as if you never existed. You were never a soldier, you were bait. And as if that wasn't enough, the longer you're in this miserable existence, the worse it gets. At first you had memories, faint ones, echoes of who you used to be, but as the days turns to weeks, then months, the curse begins to take hold. The memories fade. Your past, your name, your loved ones, gone. Next thing you know, you see an older Hilichurl. You try to talk to them, but they don't respond in the way a person should. They grunt, they growl, they barely understand you. And then you realize, one day, that will be you. The person you were before? Erased. But maybe, just maybe, you can still escape. If you run far enough, hide somewhere beyond the reach of heroes, you can live in peace, right? Wrong. The curse follows you. It's in your blood. The longer you exist, the stronger it gets. You try to flee, and instead, you evolve into something worse. A frost-arm Hilichurl. Oh, sure, you're powerful now. You strike fear into the hearts of the weak, but it doesn't matter. You're still doomed. You'll never be free. Oh man. And that's why it sucks to be born as a Hilichurl.